Thank you for joining XRO, which is India's first AR VR focused podcast. And today, I'm delighted and honored to have with me Mr. Karan Ganesan, who's an experience focused engineer and prototyper. He joins Luma from Flipkart, where he worked on various 3D and augmented reality features across the Flipkart ecosystem, like try-ons, view in your room experiences, and 3D first visualizations. He actively participates in meetups and hackathons and publishes a bi weekly XR newsletter called Reality Bites. And I reached out to Karan because Luma AI, because Luma AI I think is doing something really cool. I think building and being ready for the metaverse, because I think the friction for the metaverse has been the transition from 2D to 3D, and here is Luma AI, which is working on solving that problem. So and you guys launched last night, right? So congratulations, Karan. So you know what, before we get into Luma, I think we should get your backstory, because that'll be interesting. So start with your journey. I mean, what is it that excited you or caught your interest into choosing extended reality as a career?
I've been actively participating in a lot of meetups and hackathons, and I was fortunate enough to find a couple of friends who I started to team up with and pair up with and sort of build things. And one of these things that I sort of built at a hackathon at, I think, VIT, like in Velur, basically was like to build that's when I sort of made the connection between digital twins and virtual reality. And then that's how I started like I was looking at various things, that like various mediums in which you can visualize different machines and machineries in the factory. And then like at that point of time, what I came to know was like this new field of VR and AR is like the most unfiltered open medium that you can use to represent any sort of data, any sort of simulation. And that's how I sort of got into this. So we built like a prototype around like an electrical motor, where we simulated that in VR, and then we sort of had a lot of like IoT things connected to it, and then we sort of simulated the same thing in VR, and then we back simulated the commands from VR to the real life, and like we did like a mini digital twin version of it. And then we took that project to sort of like a national level hackathon, like hosted by our government of India. Like we didn't even know the potential of what we built until we spoke to people who are interested in using these technologies like digital twins and VR AR. Like when we talked, we understood there are a ton of problems in taking this to production, ton of ton of things to build on top of, like everything from IP to 3D models to where the data is being stored, to a ton of things that we learned over that time. Yeah, that's how I sort of explored and understood like VR is a medium that you can do these kind of things. And yeah, that's how it got started.
Lovely, yeah. How cool is that? Because I guess the only way to understand a technology at a nascent stage is to do a deep dive, get your hands dirty, learn. I mean, break things, and put things up, back. But that's the only way I think you learn and grow. And you rightfully pointed out. I think AR, VR, MR. It's a medium to visualize physical things in the virtual world, and it makes life so much easier. You also mentioned about your early days building a digital twin, and digital twin I think right now is maybe 2015-16 when you guys started. That was too early into the ecosystem. You could not input real time data onto your virtual objects, but that's what you can do today. And with companies such as nvidia, their 3D engine platform like Omniverse, they're push driving the conversation when it comes to digital twins. Since we're talking about digital twins, will be nice if you could elaborate on that. Where does the current tech stand today, and how are enterprise using digital twins?
There are a ton of unknown VR AR use cases that public doesn't know. There are like agencies and like consultancy companies like Accenture and like PTC, Euphoria, and all these kind of people like sort of have a lot of deployments that people might not know in the public space. But one company that stands out of everything is this company called Euphoria slash PTC. These guys like so when we started the project, we were having these problems, these IP problems, these 3D model problems, the data problems. We didn't build it out eventually. But a couple of years forward, I guess 2020 or like 2021, when I saw the platform that Euphoria made, it was like a complete like whatever we imagined back in 2016 is like done really in a production grade in a no code environment where you can just drag drop things and with enterprise work logins and like and everything they just have it today. And like these companies have like done it in a very good way. They have integrations with Unity, the web, and like all the data is protected by SSO, and like all the work login and the data is like the data can stay on your like the company servers, not on the any on-prem or like any cloud. And like they've solved every problem that we imagined of. uh, and like like and I think a lot of like I even know a couple of startups based out of India, where they have been very successful in deploying these kind of digital twins for like the army, the digital twins for like there is this company called Magically based out of US, where they've successfully made a lot of medical digital twin, like sort of accessing your body data information using like the sensors and like sort of projecting them on the glasses on top of a human being while doing a surgery. And like it's really sort of helpful for the doctors to know what state the doctor is in and like doing this stuff. It's like like there are a ton, like I could go on, but yeah, these are the few interesting things that I tend to talk about whenever when people ask about it. Yeah, does that cover?
Yeah, completely. Yeah. So yes, there's some interesting things happening in the space of digital twins. What we are doing is sensorizing these physical objects and bringing it into the virtual world so that we can understand those physical objects better through these virtual simulations and predict things in advance. So we are getting into an exciting space. Now, not many people know that you also interned at Geometry. Talk about your transition from Geometry to Scapic. I'm sorry if I'm getting the pronunciation right. Which got acquired by Flipkart, which is now acquired by Walmart. So share some interesting insights from Geometry, Flipkart, and also share how how especially these both of these startups. I mean, Geometry as well as Scapic has really scaled up beautifully.
One of the hackathons that I was hosting in Bangalore was called Hack Friends India. And in that conference, Gmetri was like one of the like sponsors slash mentors for the event. And then that's when I met these guys, and like coincidental meet with Utsav. I guess Utsav was in the podcast a while back. The same person, like I had a like interesting conversation with him, and then I basically joined that as like an intern for like 30 days, like just to see what we can do in the space. And like it was like third or fourth year, like semester holidays. So anyway, no college, so I just joined over there. I when I was there, I used these frameworks and technologies like React VR, which is like deprecated now, and like 3JS. I basically was involved in a project in building like customer support training in virtual reality. So like one of the major telecom partners in India were like a customer for them. I basically built out like quizzes in VR. Like so basically at that point of time, it's not Quest 2. No Quest 2 was there or Quest was there. It was Oculus Go. So it's a 3D headset with like a 360-degree videos and like images. We basically build like a menu system or like a quiz thing inside VR where you can click, like basically questions pop up. Basically, it's for training, right? So you will have a 360 video playing, which will be a question, and then like the customer support engineer has to reply with the proper answer, and like those answers will be as multiple choice questions, and like I had to click using the controller that we had in Oculus Go, and like click and go and like go. Yeah, uh, that wasn't the only thing that Gmetri was doing at the moment. They were also doing a lot of architectural visualizations, and then now they have a no-code platform to sort of drag and drop build VR AR experiences.
I guess, besides Flipkart, there's, companies like Amazon, and I think most of the other e-com platforms are also understanding that, we are transitioning from this 2D to 3D, and they're being ready for that. And you've played a role at Flipkart, building out their try-ons and V in your room. So would be great if you could talk about those.
Yeah. After Gmetri, like after I went to college, like I've been searching to like, so in my college, I didn't attend any of my on-campus recruitment drives, so on and so forth that they call. I was laser focused on joining a VR AR startup or a company, and like yeah. So basically, what happened was there was a framework in 3D and VR like called A-Frame. I am a very active user of the framework back in 2017 and like 18 sort of years. So basically, Scapic's founder Sai Krishna, I guess Ajay's co-founder, like from Scapic, he reached out on Twitter saying, "Would you be interested in trying to see a future with Scapic?" And that's how it started. Yeah, it was like a Twitter direct message turned an internship turned the job, and like the job ended, like job until we got acquired, and like until it was like right before Flipkart, it was like around what 9 to 11, like 10 or 11 months I worked over there, like as an intern and a full-time engineer. At that point of time, my job was like as an engineer was to build and maintain the web 3D and AR things, that 3D and AR integrations that we had. There were a lot of companies and brands out of India using Scapic's no-code editor and like build like integration for their websites, their apps, iframes, and whatnot, right? I was working with the team. Like I learned a lot during Scapic. Like that's my first full-time job and like a long internship that I did. Yeah, I've been working on the graphics and the front end side of it. A lot, a lot of understanding on how e-commerce companies use. And then at that point of time, Flipkart was like an early customer/explorer, and Flipkart was in touch with like Ajay and Sai for a long time, and we were even helping them out in building their catalog images using like Blender renders and like stuff like that based out of Scapic. At one point of time, every conversation that we had in Scapic sales team was coming from outside, and then like we never had to reach out for any project sales or like service sales, and like that's when the Flipkart acquisition conversation started, and like it happened. I guess that's when we found like a MVP or like a market fit with e-commerce and AR put together, where you see value out of it, both from the front of customers who are trying to buy and in the front of sellers and the platforms. And then like Flipkart saw us, and like they were very excited to bring this to millions of people in like the Flipkart ecosystem. And like yeah, that's how it happened. Like yeah,
this transition has been super interesting. I mean, for the longest time, I think the front movers have been saying that XR is going to play a huge role in e-commerce. There were these giants such as Amazon. They, in fact, on their app they have something similar. We view in your room, then Flipkart has, and that's so how is this going to pan out? I mean, somebody who's been at the forefront of India's leading giant, when it comes to e-com, how is this going to pan out according to you? If you had to paint a picture of possibly maybe the next 10 years of e-com, how do you think Metaverse, AR, VR, MR is going to play a role?
I'm not sure if you watched this movie called Ready Player One, where they have a scene where there are physical pickups for things like suits and like physical products that you can buy. I guess that will happen at some point of time where you'll be able to visualize, try it out, and buy all on a VR experience or like a AR experience, and like yeah, that's kind of that's the goal, of course. But until then, I guess we will see a lot of products being used in the phone, because phone is the most accessible thing. Uh, right from like viewing something in your room to try-ons on your face or like legs or hands, as a watch try-on, or like a necklace try-on, or like lipstick try-on, or like maybe even shirt try-ons and pant try-ons. Uh, Interestingly, I'm not sure if you know, Flipkart. We partnered with Snapchat. Snapchat is one of the OG AR companies in the world. They have these ecosystems like Lens Studio, the Snapchat app, and like these, right? One of the integrations that we did at Flipkart is something called Camera Kit SDK from like Snapchat. We basically integrated that into our Flipkart app. It's on Android app at the moment, where it's kind of enables you to do like a it kind of enables to do any AR lens that you see on Snapchat. You can just make an e-commerce version of it, like have like a bag in it and like have sales numbers in it, and like put it in Flipkart's Android app. We had like a lot of interest. Even in the Big Billion Day, there were some numbers, like I think around like 500K activations on the day that Flipkart Big Billion Day went live. I guess companies like Snapchat, Flipkart, and like Amazon, and like all the e-commerce players will adopt or some way partner with someone to make their products available in like the visualized manner of AR and 3D. Back in the day at Flipkart, we used to have this motto that we should make AR so boring that it should be a common thing and not like an interesting feature. I guess Flipkart is going to do that. I think it's already done it. Maybe I should pull up the numbers on the Big Billion Day. They posted it. It had like total 50 million activations during the period of 7 days for the Big Billion Day, and like yeah, it's like crazy.
How cool is that? We are slowly transitioning into that world. And yeah, what I would like to say is, like, even the interface you mentioned about the mobile, I think it's losing its utility. There's only so much innovation that can be stacked onto it. Yes, no doubt that mobile is the computer in a pocket, which is the interface which is used by almost more than half the entire global population today. But I think it's inevitable that we transition from mobiles to a head wearable device. I know that we still do not have a compelling reason enough to wear a head wearing device, even maybe something as light as this, for the entire day. Because the day we have compelling reason for us to wear a head wearable device, the entire day, I think that's when you said, it'll be as boring or as common enough that people will be using it, because the entire world would be your screen or TV, and everything would be projected. Whether it's that leads to a very utopian or dystopian or protopian future is something, it's a conversation that we need to have. But yes, we getting into a very exciting space, the way the tech stack is growing. And what I've also been noticing is that there's a convergence of sort. Earlier it was augmented reality, virtual reality, mixed reality, and each was in its single thing, doing its own bit of thing. But now I think it's being accelerated because of things like artificial intelligence. It's being accelerated because of 5G, and it's being accelerated because of the metaverse stack that we have, the conversation that we are building. So I think it's all going to kind of converge, and then I think the real world benefits are going to show up, which is going to be possibly as boring as and or so common that we won't say that it's a technology. It'll be because it'll possibly become like mobile. We don't call it a technology anymore. It's just something that we use on a daily basis, and I hope that that's what happens in the near future. just because there are so many people who have so like varied explanation of what the metaverse is. Would you like to give it a shot and give a brief explanation on what metaverse
Yeah,
is according to you?
I recently watched this. I'm not sure if you know about this YouTube channel called Good Time Show. Aarti and they host this thing, right? Where Palmer Lucky joined in one of the conversations, and I think he had the best ever explanation about what these all XR dash XR words mean. And a TLDR version of it is that he says everything is just VR. Even AR is VR, considering that extra thing is going to be a virtual thing anyway. And why do you want to call it augmented? It's virtual anyway. I think I don't know, like people just try to position themselves with a term. Apple hasn't picked one. Microsoft has picked mixed reality. Google has picked virtual reality. Apple has been sticking with AR so far on their AR kit experiences and beyond. Snapchat AR. And some companies have used XR for some weird reasons. I don't know. But coming back to what the metaverse could be, I don't know. It's still a defining word. It could mean the internet of the future. It could mean everything. It could be a medium. It could be like a holodeck. I don't know. I tend not to stick to one thing and like be limited by it. There have been some conversations on Twitter, like what the metaverse could be. Like not a lot. Like every company, like in the past year, everyone has metaverse solutions now. Metaverse enterprise solutions, metaverse software solutions. But not name calling anyone, but it's about business and marketing, and like they are just telling that they do visualizations and like stuff like that. So I don't know, like it's not fixed to me, at least for me. Excited to see what it could be. Like yeah if we want to build like a metaverse, Medium article called the 7 rules of what the metaverse should look like. It says about it should be interoperable, it should be open, and like stuff like that. I think his name was one thing. So he's the creator of the GLTF format, one of the co-creators of the spec. And then like he also wrote this Medium article about, it's called Tony. His name is called Tony Parisi. He worked at Unity for a long time, OG GL3D guy, and like So I guess that 7 rules of metaverse could be a starting point for companies to like do anything and everything related to metaverse. And like maybe we can check that out on Medium and like read it out. But that's like it's a really good set of rules. It says about how open it should be, how it should be accessible to everyone, how each metaverse sort of worlds should talk to each other, like interoperability and like all these kind of things. So that's my take on the metaverse.
Lovely. How cool is that? I mean, thank you for bringing it out. So yes, I've missed out on reading this article by Tony Parisi. Tony Parisi obviously has been a pioneer in the space with Unity earlier, and right now he has joined Lamina One. And I think you I'm going to check out the podcast which you mentioned. With Pamalaki. And yes, I think that's such an important way to describe, because I guess we live in a world which is it's a capitalistic world where a group of people or companies will always run it and drive it to their specific narrative, and I guess that's the reason I think there's different camps calling it a certain technology, because it's for their personalization, personal business. I mean, because if somebody calls it like a metaverse for enterprise, because that's what they're doing. If they're calling it for social network, that they're doing that. So I think the terms augmented reality, virtual reality, mixed reality, or the umbrella term of extended reality, I think these are companies who are calling it that, so that for their specific business purpose. But like I think Pamalaki says, the entire thing is virtual reality. What we are trying to do is mimicking the physical world. and eventually, as scary, utopian, dystopian, whatever it might sound, we going towards a world where eventually, I think we'll be able to completely emulate the physical world, and
Yeah.
that somehow is scary, because even in our current virtual world that we live on, the 2D world, through social media and stuff like that, there are so many wrongs with it. It could have been wrong, right, but there are so many wrongs with it. The social media has got radicalization. There is manipulation, there's voting manipulation, there's hoarding of data, and the list can go on. And the same thing, which is not even immersive. It's not even, we still stuck to a 2D interface. But this metaverse that we're talking about building eventually will be a 3D world where our kids of future might spend more and more time, will actually live in the virtual world. And that is so a conversation which I think governments, academia, industry, investors, they need to have and involve civil society and make them understand that yes, we've created technology which is now akin to magic. It's actually the Arthur Clarke, we created technology which is literally, I mean, take people from 30 years back, and if you tell them that we can create holograms and 3D printed human organs, they'll go like, what, are you mad? But that's what we are doing right now. And the metaverse that we are building, though we are in such a nascent stage, we're still trying to understand the language of what it's going to actually be. But I think we need to have conversations together so that what we build is something which is human first. Because that what this article you mentioned about, Tony Parsi, we are so far away from decentralization. We are so far away from interoperability. It's not even funny. It's these conversations which is driven by these VCs and these big tech companies. It's just a narrative, and I hope that the common people understand that and try to actually make a difference and build a world which is Web3, or which is truly decentralized, a metaverse which is truly interoperable. So I hope that we get into that world. Now the 2D
Yeah,
to 3.
speaking of that, I would like to add one
Yes,
thing.
please.
So I'm not sure if you know this person called Avi Barzi. He was at Microsoft, Apple, a lot of companies, 30 years into VR AR. So I've been fortunate enough to meet with him, I mean, over Zoom, and like have conversations with him. So he has this thing called XR Guild. It's like a Discord community / like a VR AR community where he hosts regular conversations around these ethical and privacy things around VR AR. He hosts roundtables at AWE. So I'm also there are like some meetups already planned in the US. I am planning to host in Bangalore and Chennai. You can host in Goa. Like we can chat later. He's spreading the word of. I mean, he's been in the space and he knows what problems are there, and he has made some guidelines on what topics to talk about. The things that you mentioned in the 2D world, he has predicted what could happen or what could go wrong in the VR AR and the metaverse space. And anyone who's interested in like sort of trying to get into these conversations to check out this community called XR Guild. It's a Discord community at the moment with meetups around the world. Soon to be, but yeah, that's an interesting thing.
Lovely, yeah, superb. I think we need to do more, involve people, create conversations, because that's the only way this technology that we're building will kind of go out from the hands of the big tech, or just the 4 or 5% of the entire global population, which owns 95% of the entire wealth. we live in a terribly unequitable world. So yes, I mean, Luma AI. Now you're one of the founding teams of Luma AI, which you're doing 2D to 3D images, from phone to just click a couple of photos and it gets into becomes 3D images. talk about that, and maybe give us an update on the entire tech stack. What's needed, because earlier we were doing photogrammetry, we used lidar, and now we have things called nerfs. So maybe talk all about that and Luma AI and what you guys are doing.
My journey with Luma AI started again on Twitter, just direct messaging Amit, one of the co-founders of the company. I accidentally saw some deleted tweet, like they were in the stealth like for like 7 to 8 months, like not telling what they're building, and like someone accidentally, one of their friends tweeted something around visualizations and like how easy it's gonna be, and like some video render of the Nerf technology. I basically saw that deleted tweet and like reached out to Amit, had this conversation with him, and like when the time was right, I basically joined. Had to figure out like exit things at Flipkart, like notice periods and whatnot, and like stuff like that. And I basically joined as a founding member. I've been helping across the board, majorly on the front end graphics, sort of building the things on the web, Luma's share pages, Luma's like external viewing things, the website, and the graphics, like the renderer on the web, the image based, video based renderer, and like stuff like that. And also I've been lucky enough to contribute on the iOS app, which is like the star of the Luma's like ecosystem that we are building. And then we just launched Luma Web yesterday, which is like you can upload a video on the web, wait for 20 to 30 minutes, you get a 3D model out of it, or a Nerf render out of a real-time Nerf render on the web. Going a bit back on what nerves are. Whenever the topic of nerves come, people just tell photogrammetry has been there for a lot of time. What is this gonna give us, and like whatnot, right? Of course, photogrammetry was a. I mean, I was very surprised to learn photogrammetry is a very old thing. Like people have been working on it for a long time, but it just got popular when Apple released object capture, and like that's the momentum at which, like, that's the time period at which the whole photogrammetry app started to come up, and like a lot of companies are trying to build it, from Apple's object capture to Epic Games' capturing reality to like whatnot, Adobe's own solution, or like a ton of things are in the photogrammetry space. So nerves are a different take at reconstructions. I mean, in building 3D models, or like 3D things, we can't even say 3D models when we are in the nerve space. My most basic like explanation for nerves are, we know what the images are, right? It's a bunch of pixels arranged in an array of like a big 1024 into 1024 pixels. Imagine that for a 3D model, like a 3D representation, but also for different angles. That's what nerves are in like in the very basic common terms of English. So basically it's like if you have a photo, you have colors in it. The same thing on 3D, you have colors in 3D space, and the colors change when you look from different angles also. Like that's the best part about nerves. And nerves are obviously backed by, or like powered by, the neural networks that run behind them. We have made it at a very consumable way, I would say, like 20 to 30 minutes. We basically run out of cloud, and we sort of have like GPUs running on them. Of course, it's not real time. I guess I want to make it real time. Imagine trying to build a 3D model, and right after you capture, you get a 3D model. I guess we just need to break the Moore's law, or like just have more compute on the phone, or like have crazy fast 5G speeds and like compute speeds on the cloud. But yeah, we'll get there somehow someday. But at the moment, it's running out of clouds. We use like our own in-house built like neural network framework and like all those things in the cloud. You basically have at the end. I'll just maybe cover the whole end-to-end flow, right? First, the user comes in and logs into the Luma app. They can open AR experience. We have a really good guided AR experience because, I mean, we could say just go and cover all the angles to just capture something, but that's not enough. Like you need to be at a specific distance from the subject, from center of the subject, so that you are always looking at it at the proper angles, always looking at the center. And then you have to have like loops, right? Like ground, center, and like top, so that you cover all the areas of the object. So the Luma team, like we had like a 2% team sort of working on like these proper AR thing, like proper AR guidance, which is needed for like the capture. And then like the Luma app basically takes photos and videos and sort of uploads to the cloud. So that's basically that's the most basic thing that the app does. And then like all the magic happens in the cloud. And then you get back files from the cloud. And like at the moment, we have like 4 things available at the moment. One is a video that's like a really cool cinematic render where we have a crazy path and like you go around the Nerf. So this cinematic thing is a real time. I mean, it's running on the backend on the cloud on a Nerf renderer, which is like full no quality loss. Like it's a real Nerf. Like that's the output that you will get if you're able to run Nerfs real time on your phone. So that's the cinematic renderer. And then we have like a light field renderer where like it's a single level thing. It's like 360 panorama, or like a 360 3D viewer where you will be able to go around the Nerf itself, but you can use your hand or like the mouse to really control which angle you're looking at. But it's like one level of freedom though. So that's the light field. Yeah, the third interesting piece is the neural renderer, where we have like a web link, like all the captures that you do on Luma will have a URL, and the URL can work across any device, mobile, desktop, wherever you want. It has the neural network that runs to shows a very realistic reconstruction of what you captured in like a different, like it has the view dependence basically. Let's say you captured a bike which has like a shiny part in it. Of course, in real life, when you see from different angles, the reflections will be different, or like the light that's falling on top or like different. Same is captured on the neural renderer, right? Because it has the information about what colors to show on what angle, and like you can see that. It's on the web. We use the same on the iOS app also, like as a web view, and like it just works. Like it's OpenGL, like a WebGL based thing that we just built. Yeah, that's the thing. And then like a few days back, we even launched the support of exporting OBJs and GLTF files, because it's the holy grail, right? I mean, everyone wants these things. So the downside of exporting them they are diffuse. They don't have the view dependence that I just mentioned on the third renderer. It's basically like one color is picked from all the different angles, and like we just bake colors into it. People have been. It's interesting to see what people are creating. As far as I've seen, people have imported 3D models into Mozilla hubs. They have imported things into Unity. They have imported things into 3JS. Everywhere. I mean, it's just interoperable frame. Like GLTF is a universal thing. So yeah, some people might even just print it out, 3D print it out because of the OBJ file. Like you can do that. Like,
How cool is that? I think this is gonna fundamentally disrupt the way how we experience content, and because the 2D to 3D conversion had its own problem. We've been moving to the 3D world, but the conversion or either creation of 3D assets have been a very problematic workflow. And here you guys are saying that you guys have completely disrupted that workflow, completely simplified it. I was watching some of your clips on Twitter, and the kind of quality the output has, it's amazing. And you guys are not just doing objects, you're also doing environments. So that's where it becomes interesting. What's the size of this file? And if you want to convert it or directly port it as an AR VR experiences on, how does one go about doing that? And what's the price point at this point in time?
So the diffuse textures or like GLTF. It's around like 50 to 100 megabytes. But of course, you can still make it down, maybe like use like compressors tools like Draco or like Bashop or like stuff like that. Uh, I was able to do, like, I made a demo. I think I tweeted out that uh, the cow on a model viewer, like a GLTF expert. I brought it down to 6.5 MB. Like, why not? But why not? Yeah, so that's as small as it goes. Uh, yeah, the scenes that you mentioned are an interesting thing. We have been hearing a lot of interest to try and import these things into the workflows. At the moment, the export on the web URLs that we have, like the Luma's share pages, have them. Like you can just enable it on the top right as like a open, like show background or not. It's not exportable at the moment, but of course we are looking at all possible scenarios, and like we are of course going to build work on it. Of course, it's just not there at the moment. On the pricing standpoint, it's all free at the moment for the beta. We haven't fixed on any prices, like as long as you follow our terms and conditions and the privacy policy that we have on the website, you're good at the moment. Yeah, like there is no pricing decided at the moment. It's like beta experimental stages. So we are trying to ship something so fast. So the web renderer that the team and me worked on are like built in a very short period of time. And like we want to bring out things, bring out the basic fundamental things out, and then get feedback and iterate and build the product. We don't want to build something out and like find out there is no use case for it, or like what we built is not necessary. So that's the reason we shipped it. If you notice, we shipped Monday and Friday this week, US time zone. Monday we shipped diffuse texture expose. Friday we shipped Luma Web. People don't tend to do this generally, even at the companies that I worked in the past. But yeah, here is a startup that's crazy to, not crazy, like very talented enough to like ship both days at the end of the weekdays.
But that's so very cool, because I guess what's happening and what's exciting is that these big tech companies, obviously there was a go to market strategy and there was a lot of thought, and there was always a wait and watch. But I think the world has changed. There are so many competitors doing some really insane things, and there are other startups who are in the space of 2D to 3D conversion, leveraging artificial intelligence. There are startups. I think that the largest disruption which I've seen in 2022, according to me, is Stable Diffusion. Stability AI. I think they have completely upended the game. Because I always thought that a company like Google, Meta, would make AI more accessible, but here is a startup fronted by an Indian, and who's doing image to text to image generation, is also working on text to audio with diffusion dance, is working on text to video. In this scenario, which is becoming extremely competitive, what's the role of open source, and who are your immediate competitors? And there are obviously the big tech such as Adobe, Nvidia, Meta have been for the longest time working on your single image to 3D generation. Google has got into it with LOL Nerf, learn from one look Nerf. So who are your immediate competitors at this point in time, and what would be your business model? Because eventually this is really cool that you guys are giving it out to people, and people are, and that's the best model, because you get more and more downloads and more customers. I think that's the best way. But what's the road ahead map for you guys?
The competition space is limited today. Like, I'm not sure if there are even apps that are doing this. I think end of the day, whoever is going to be, I guess it's going to be get crowded next year, or like the next 2024 or like 2023. I guess the most successful company is going to be probably hoping it's Luma, of course, since they work there. But it's gonna be the company who's gonna figure out the end-to-end process, figure out the end-to-end workflow, figure out the customer support, and like I've seen like so I'm behind the Luma Twitter account, right? I mean, me and Amit and like a few others in the team. It's been crazy to understand the problems that traditional photogrammetry apps have, and like there is a lot of room for improvement, and like and then like our I would say our roadmap is gonna be influenced by, I won't say directed, like but directed by our Discord community at the moment. Like we have like proper channels organized for reports and like feature requests. There are like a ton of feature requests. Of course, we are gonna pick which is the most sensible one, which is most the team can build and stuff like that. But yeah, the road ahead is unclear at the moment. We have an app, we have the web thing. Of course, these are powered by APIs and like whatnot, right? Uh, as I mentioned earlier, the reason to ship these things as fast as possible is to understand what people want and build a solution around that. We don't want to build an API and just give it out like. I mean, Stable Diffusion did that API because DALI was very successful and there was a real need for APIs and like stuff like that. But at the moment, APIs are not the only dangling pain point for like creating nerves. It's the capture experience also for which you need an app. You can't just make them separate and like have things separate and broken. Why Apple is doing everything by themselves, right? Because the end-to-end experience matters. So yeah, I mean, but of course, if enterprises want or like companies want like an automated solution, there would be a special version of web maybe, or like the app maybe they can upload their own data sets, or maybe even an API. But it's still unclear at the moment, I would say. We are ready to adapt and build however it deems necessary. So yeah.
Super, yeah, congratulations. I think the product is looking really, really awesome. I'm going to download it, so yeah, we wish you and your team the very best. Now, you have been somebody who's been really passionate about the ecosystem. You've been doing hackathons, and you're working on building a community. You mentioned about the something that you're working on building with Avi. You also have an XR newsletter called Reality Bites. So I've been doing a lot of community building also, because I guess for me, I've been invested in the space since 2015 2016, and I realized that the only way to create a industry which is sustainable is to raise awareness, spread knowledge, make people aware about it, enterprise aware that this is a tool which is really cool. You need to look at it and see that how you can leverage it for your business. So talk to us about your journey, and also talk about the role of community building to create a sustainable XR industry here in India.
People like you and me should sort of lead these conversations in the local communities and chapters using any of these XR Guild, XR whatever, XR and like whatever, right? And then like see these thoughts at people's mind, right? So I'm also part of this organizing group called GDC Chennai. Like we have regular meetups, DevFest. Like there is a DevFest coming on. It's about being keeping up the momentum and like just being consistent. It's crazy that you have been consistent for a long time, and like haven't been consistent with Reality Bites at the moment because of the work. But yeah, but it's been. But people are interested, of course. It's just a matter of time and figuring out the logistics to like build an ecosystem around this. We should have more meetups and hackathons around VRAR. Maybe we could host one with Luma. I had this crazy idea where since we have Luma, and then you can basically digitize any product in your home and office and workspace. What if there is an exclusive hackathon where you let people build games using Luma's assets? Basically, you capture whatever objects that you want and then like go crazy. I think we are going to do this. I haven't talked with the team, but I am looking to have some sort of event or like hackathon around this and like just go crazy. Like, I mean, it would be interesting to see what people capture from the real world and do games out of it, right? Yeah, hackathons and conferences are like big community pullers to all these ecosystems and like communities, uh, and like yeah, like a ton of college people. Yeah, I mean, yeah, talking about communities, I've been fortunate enough to start my career from my college days. College is a very, like, what do I say, very interesting period of time where we have time and effort that you can spend on to these things, uh, and like that's the crucial period of time. Of course you're studying, but weekends and whatnot, uh, as far as I remember, every Saturday or Sunday I would not be in my home during my all my 4 years. I've been always at tidy tech parks attending events and hackathons. I should use that advice to people who are watching this. Just go and attend meetups, and like you'll find your next job over there. You'll find your next internship over there. You'll find collaborative opportunities or like projects or like stuff like that. So yeah, everything that I've been is because of the community. Every person that I've met is because of the community and Twitter. So yeah,
You mentioned, I mean, you're right from your Gmetri to Scapic to even Luma AI, the people who reached out through you through Twitter. So I mean, social media, people try to pull it down that okay, there is wrong. There's so much rights to it. I mean, because there's no way we could have this conversation if there was not for this tool called internet, which allows to break down the distance, and you can connect with anyone, everyone. So it's exciting space, and this technology space is growing. And if there are students or entrepreneurs, I mean, you did advise, I mean, to reach out to community. That's the only way you can earn, learn, grow. If there's entrepreneurs who want to understand or get into being an entrepreneur in the space of XR, AR, VR, MR, Nerf, leveraging Nerf, what would be your advice?
just don't listen to any big corporations telling you that you should not do, or like any customers telling you can't solve it. Just go ship it. I've seen startups built in a weekend. Like if you go to my Twitter and see my pinned tweet, it says uh, okay, I'll just read it out. Like that's an interesting quote from someone at A16Z who does a lot of startup things, and right. So basically the quote is that what the smartest people do on the weekend is what everyone will do in the week in the next 10 years. So of course there will be iterations and stuff, but startups are being built in days, 2 days in the weekend, and like shipped, and over the week you will get a feedback, and like you will know if any of it is successful or not. I'm not sure if you follow this person called Levels IO on like Twitter, Peter Levy, I guess his name was. uh, the one thing that he says is that his popular websites are like Nomad List and like remote.io and like all those websites, right? But he has made like 100 projects and six of them are like popular, and that's what he's known for. It's basically like you should just try out 100 things. I've tried out 100 things. Like I've tried out VR for education. Like I've built prototypes for it. I've tried VR for entertainment. I basically partnered with a theater in Chennai. I went to a theater like after the movie ends, we basically gave out Google cardboards and like asked people to try out. And they were sitting in a VR environment where you are in a seat and like a trailer is playing on a video on a big screen on a VR. I've tried out for a ton of things, but there is no hardware in India like to buy. And that's the problems that back in the day. So the only thing is just try out a lot, speak to people, even if it's a unique idea. No one is gonna copy your idea. Like it's all about execution. That's the only thing. I've been so introverted, like not to talk about my ideas back in my days, but now I just talk. Uh, yeah, so just do a lot of things. Some will pop up, and talk to people. Like talk to me if you want advice or like any sort of help on like if this will work or not. If there is even a market for this, or if there is a competitor on this, feel free to ping me or you. Yeah, talk to people who are relevant in the space. Chat with them on Twitter or like over a call. That's what ecosystems are there for, right? Twitter, and I've been fortunate enough to talk to a lot of people from Magic Leap to like Google to like Meta. Like they have been super helpful to guide me through whenever I ask a question or like yeah, that's my advice.
Lovely. Yeah. So we living in a fantastic point of time, and you rightfully pointed out as a student. I mean, instead of holding on to your idea, the best way is to take the idea to action it, because there are a lot of time these students, they think that the idea is like $1 billion, $1 million, and they keep on holding it. But the only way you make the idea work, or from an idea to a startup, is when you action it, when you throw it out in the world, reach out to people, because things have changed. Everybody is open to have conversations, and that's the only way you'll know whether, even if your idea you think is relevant or not. So and you are rightfully pointed out, because there's always been an approach, where people say that, okay, there's only, you do one narrow thing, that's about it. But I think we're living in a world which is become so dynamic and so competitive, that I think there's no narrowness at all. Even if you're doing per se augmented reality, you will need to understand the peripheral technologies around it to build it. So you need to learn all of those. So don't do a complete deep dive, but yes, learn all of those, because I think we live in a world where lifelong learning is going to be extremely important. Keep on learning, taking those information, try and, yes, there is, because of social media, there's an overload of information, but try and funnel it in a way that it works for you. I mean, that's the best way forward. On the Twitter, my last question to you, on your Twitter, your title says an eclectic person interested in technologies of the future. So if I have, my last question is this: paint a picture of what metaverse or future technology is going to look like in the next 10 years, and your personal moonshot, yours and Luma AI.
There are a bunch of technologies that I've been lookout for. Like that's why the word eclectic for the future of technologies mean. Some of the things that I am super excited for are basically transforming the way interfaces look like. I don't think so. It's going to last long. Boxes and rectangles and like text. There will be a visual rehaul like the material design UI or like the iPhone UI, that revolutions or like the changes that happen. Yeah. So user interface is one thing that I personally read and understand and research on how it's going to change. Yeah, that's one thing. And then HCI, like human computer interaction using EEG, or like just converting your thoughts to commands and like stuff like that, are like super crazy and like like is this magic come true? But the technology just doesn't exist. There are companies like MetaZone, Control Labs. They have this armband where you can move your hand without even moving your hand, like basically thinking that you are moving your hand. It's crazy that you can do that using just like understanding the neural electrical signals from your neural network. I mean, neural and implants on your veins and stuff. Yeah, so input is going to change a lot, of course, with VR, AR medium. Until then, we are going to use controllers, keyboards, and mouse, of course. But hand tracking is one good thing that's happened. Like the recent update on the Quest 2 is like super crazy good. I'm able to do this now. Like you can hold two like hands and like it shows you. Earlier updates were like it will break. The computer visions are like are so advanced now. It can understand what I'm doing with cross hands. I do benchmarks like these like crazily to understand what the state of like hand tracking or like stuff are. These are the three things that I'm most excited about. Talking about moonshots, I don't know, like it's not a personal moonshot. I want the industry to go forward and like build like accessible devices that people can buy $500 or like $1,000, not like 1,500 or like $3,000, like the current headsets. But I want the like I even deep dive into understanding the problems of these hardware companies. It seems like there is no manufacturing test beds. I don't know if they call it like a manufacturing bed for building these optics and the structures, right, for the components. It seems like that doesn't exist today. That's the craziest part. You can't manufacture a VR headset using the optical things that you had for a camera or like a a phones manufacturing unit. You need to build whole entire machines from scratch. So like I think a lot of companies are solving it, like new players, Tilt 5, Lynx VR, and like Meta, Pico, and like all these companies are trying to do it. And the pancake lens that everyone is starting to use is like super crazy small. I haven't tried it, but it's crazy that we are moving to a stage where it's thin like a glass, but like a half centimeter extra. We're gonna reach that in the next few years. Yeah, and then the moonshot for Luma is to be the one-stop solution for conversion of your assets to digital versions. May it be an object, may it be a room, may it be a public space, may it be a maybe even like an animated thing. We are yet to understand how that's going to work, but yeah. So like we wanted to democratize this, like the Nerf technology, to as many people as possible. Our efforts so far have been to make sure that we just don't limit our users because of the AR guidance that we have, but also web. And the main reason to push for the web, like web upload, is that people have a lot of photogrammetry assets that they want to just upload and just use a pipeline. So just do it now. Yeah, it's basically to like just take this technology forward to a lot of people and like see what comes out of it, right? Because like we have been sitting on, I mean, one of the biggest downsides of using photogrammetry is reflections break, or like it's like if there's a reflection, it won't work, like because the algorithms that are tuned to do photogrammetry don't do that. But nerves are like very unique in the way of understanding what it's seeing, right? It's like understanding. It's basically how we perceive our brain, like perceive in our brains, that we know from this angle it's looking like this. We know from this angle it's looking like this. It's like trying to mimic our brain, but on a digital computer. That's very exciting. And like if you check Luma Labs AI on Twitter, or like Luma_AI on Instagram, like there are a lot of reflective. There have been ponds captured. Like there have been like really colorful like lighting shows where they have like a bright lights, and it interestingly works on low light. Like you can go capture a table or a chair in like a public space in a park, and like even in low light the nerves work. Like there is a mesh, there is a material, and like it just it just needs a little bit of light, of course, to understand the scene. But if there is a very less light, it just works. And then like with nerves, I mean, with like you can basically, after you do a reconstruction, right, you can go to any angle you want. This is basically a biggest use case for VFX, right? You take a movie, and like, what if you want to take a different shot of it? With nerves, you can just go to any place in the space at that point of time of capture. It's like crazy.
Exciting space, Karan. So congratulations to what you guys have built so far. Luma AI, and the product looks really awesome. We wish you and the team very best. Wish you lots of success. And you pointed out, those three important things. I mean, user interface, human computer interaction, hand tracking. These tech stack are really maturing. And human computer interface, you mentioned about control labs, I mean, the armband, there are so many others who are, I think, working on these different tech stack on making virtualizing of physical world. Like there are people working on haptic feeds, there are people working on brain computer interface, there's people working on artificial intelligence. And I think eventually that that metaverse that we talking about might look very realistic. It could be indistinguishable from reality. And though, yeah, I mean, that's still very far away. But yes, that's the roadmap we're taking. But I think to bring it now to the audience right now, the next 10 years is going to be super awesome. We wish you and the team the very best. And to my listeners, if you like what you see in here, then please press the subscribe button. Until next time, see you guys. Bye bye. Thank you, Karan. Really appreciate this.